Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today's Thursday, the 30th of April. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about organised crime gangs in the UK using vape in candy shops as fronts. The UK Parliament has voted against an inquiry into Prime Minister Starmer's links to Mandelson, and Trump has warned the Iranian blockade could last months. So firstly, Chartered Trading Standards Institute published a map identifying UK high street shops for organised crime within Birmingham, Liverpool and London, topping the list of 10 towns perceived as epicentres for criminal gangs. Organised crime on high streets has steadily increased over the past decade, coinciding with local authority trading standard budget cuts of up to 50% that strip staffing to minimum levels. Nearly three-quarters of the standards of professionals report experiencing intimidation or threats of violence, with officers facing escalating threats from Kurdish crime gangs that forced her to sell her home after 10 years. The government established a task force to strengthen high streets shop enforcement, supported by a £10 million annual budget for 3 years, and they have visited over 3,000 suspected premises and arrested 1,000 individuals since March 2025. So what? It's not really a geopolitical story, but it's one that I just found interesting, as anyone who has ever come to the UK or walked around a large British city will have seen a large amount of vape shops, and especially in London, candy shops that seem to make no sense for where they are and the prices they must be paying for rent. So it is good to see that the government is at least doing something to tackle these things, because everybody knows they're committing a crime to some degree. It's just not clear what. And it's almost certain, if not maybe a little less, it's highly likely, let's say, that this is supporting money laundering for the drug trade and possibly even foreign terrorism. A lot of money comes from donations and is sent off to, foreign terrorists from the UK, just due to the large population of people that support these groups in the country. And these shops do help them launder that money and move it internationally. And it's pretty crazy that it isn't easier to stop, I have heard some people say that, the UK government wants to keep them around because they're a good source of tax revenue, but it's pretty nuts. If you're walking around some of the most expensive shopping areas in London, to see then an American candy shop just there with no customers, it's pretty wild to see, and it's, just a bit of an oddity for the area. And next, on Tuesday, Prime Minister Keir Starmer avoided a parliamentary investigation into claims he misled Parliament over Lord Peter Mandelson's appointment as the ambassador to the United States after MPs rejected the Conservative motion 335 to 223. The Tory leader accused the Prime Minister of misleading Parliament by claiming that the full due process occurred and no external pressure existed regarding Lord Mandelson, though some Labour figures branded the call as a political stunt. The former Foreign Office Mandarin, that's a strange word to be there. I think it might be an error. Sir Philip Barton told the Foreign Affairs Committee it is unusual to announce the appointment before vetting has been completed, while Morgan McSweeney denied that he asked officials to ignore processes during his testimony. Labour MPs were ordered to oppose the motion, yet a handful of backbenchers criticised the government for whipping the vote, suggesting that the Prime Minister should refer himself to the Privileges Committee to clear his name. So what? It is possible that, regardless of all of this, Starmer will have to step down just due to political pressure. There's some pretty damning evidence here that he put Lord Peter Mandelson into the position regardless of his links to Epstein. And yeah, the UK is still looking at the Epstein files. They are still doing things regarding them. So, it is good to see, even if it is somewhat lackluster. And I think regardless, it's likely that this is destroying what little hopes Labour had for any upcoming elections. I think Labour is dead in the water at this point, and that UK politics are going to face a huge shake-up, especially in the next general election, where I think it's likely we will see the rise of other parties that haven't really been, centre stage in the UK, with, a standard voting a standard situation within the UK was the Conservatives and Labour battling it out with a few smaller parties kind of hanging around the edges. especially in places like Scotland and Wales. But I think the next general election, we will see a much larger proportion of the vote going to these what was considered non-traditional parties, especially, Reform UK and the Greens. So yeah, it's going to be a pretty wild election regardless. And lastly, on Wednesday, President Donald Trump stated that the US naval blockade against Iran could last months, and Brent oil futures soared another 7.6% to 119 US dollars, the highest price since 2022. Iran has sought to extort control over the Strait of Hormuz, prompting a blockade that the parliamentary speaker said aims to create division and make us collapse from within, referring to Iran. The Pentagon confirmed that the war has already cost 25 billion US dollars to taxpayers, while the UN Development Program has warned that the conflict could plunge more than 30 million people into poverty. An Iranian army spokesperson said on Tuesday that they do not consider the war to be over, and emphasized that Tehran has no trust in America regarding potential diplomacy. So what? Trump's not wrong. This could last months. There's no real clear way out of this, and we've talked about this multiple times, basically almost every day for the past few weeks, that there's no real clear ending to this conflict. Neither side has a good path to victory, and any potential deals have downsides for both, and neither of them want to lose face or make a deal that doesn't suit them. So it's an extremely difficult situation to get out of. And yeah, if it does last a long time, it's likely going to send the global cost of things just way up. Everyone's going to feel the pain of this, just due to the cost of oil, affecting basically everything. It affects, international trade, domestic trade. It just hurts everything in the economy and drives the price of everything up. Yeah. And it'll likely make Trump even more disliked, both domestically and internationally. One of the big things that Trump campaigned on was that he could bring the cost of things down and end conflicts. And he hasn't done that. He's done quite the opposite of that. So yeah, I think it's going to hurt especially his domestic audience, who were very supportive of him. His international reputation, I think, was pretty much toast anyway. So, well. Anyway, that's been the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel. Make sure you give it a like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Rate it 5 stars on Spotify. It really helps me out. Cheers. See you.